Everybody, this is Tom Williams with The Lost Miner. If you're building your own foundation in 2025, likely you found this video because you need to know how to do the layout. So I'm going to show you how to do a layout like a pro. There's probably information, this is probably going to generate questions because I'm going to try to just kind of give the basics of what you need and kind of how to do a layout. It's also assuming that it's going to be for basically a tiny house size structure. So something, less than 400 square feet. And I'm going to be using Photoshop to show you guys kind of how to do it, what the materials are you're going to need to do your layout. And feel free to leave any questions in the comments below. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, guys, so if you've been following this channel, I've built 2 glamping sites. On our second site, we're going to start a new building an A-frame. It's only going to be about 200 square feet. So you can kind of see, we're going to design it ourselves, but I found, just kind of an example for reference to put here on my screen. It's 14 by 14. I'm going to use Photoshop to kind of lay out, to kind of show you how to do the layout. And then once we start building in the field, I'm going to do this video over again. You're going to watch me do it, do a layout live. And the idea is that through these videos, you can learn how to build your own glamping site yourself. Or, if you wanted to build something for your own personal use off-grid yourself. Okay, so the materials you're going to need, this is the very basic. You can spend more money and get like a grade stick or something like that to make things easier. But if you just want the basics, you're on a budget, what you're going to need is some nail stakes. So these are really long, solid steel poles that you can use in the masonry section. I'm also going to start the timer real quick. See how long this takes me. Okay. All right. You want to use these because it's going to be very hard to bend them, okay, whenever you nail these in the ground. They also have holes in them so that you can secure your stake to your board. This is going to be for your batter boards. Okay, so you're going to need a set of at least 8 of these stakes. It's the only thing that's pricey. They're about $13 each, so it's going to be over $100 for these, and then the rest is very inexpensive. You're going to need 4 2x4x8 studs. Okay, these are only a few dollars each. Heavy tent stakes, you can get these at on Amazon or at Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's. And then you're going to need nylon mason's line. You're going to need a line level, and then you're going to need a long measuring tape. So don't just get like a regular short measuring tape. Get something that's long, and then make sure you get something that's still and it doesn't flex when you pull it. Also, just note whenever you're doing this, if you're doing it by yourself, it's going to be a challenge. Okay, I've done it by myself. It is a challenge. You don't want to do that. You want to at least have one person helping you out. So whenever you're doing your layout for your foundation, I really recommend trying to find at least one person that can be an extra set of hands to help you do it. Okay, the dimensions, as the example, the dimensions for the structure I'm going to build is 14 by 14. I want some, so I'm going to do the layout showing where my 4 corners are going to be for my concrete piers. I'm going to do a foundation with concrete piers. All right. So I only want, about half a foot of overlap. So based on the center of I'm going to have 12-inch diameter concrete piers. So 6 inches hanging off and then a few inches towards the center. So I'm just saying, calculating 10 inches. So my layout is going to be based on placing my 4 corners at 13 feet 2 inches on each corner to make sure I've got that, hangover for whenever I build my my floor on top. Okay, so how you're going to do this? First, you got to find the highest part on your land. Okay, this is assuming you don't have a perfectly flat piece of land. So in order for this to work, you're going to have to start. Your first point is going to have to be at your highest point whenever you look at the area you're going to be building on. Okay, and then think in your mind, have a plan on how you want your structure situated, okay? Because that's going to determine the orientation of your structure on your land. That's going to determine where you put your first line. So your first line, you just put it down wherever you want it based on how you want your where you want your structure, how you want to orient it on your property. Okay, so that's the first thing to do. Let's assume that down here in this lower left-hand corner, this is the highest point in the area I'm doing my layout. So that's where we're going to start. So I'm just going to pick a color over here. Let me use black just to show. Okay, so you're gonna take one of these stakes right here with you. You're gonna get your measuring tape, and you're gonna start from that first point, and then you're gonna go out. In this case, 13 feet and 2 inches. All right. Okay, let's just say that that's 13 feet 2 inches. All right. You're gonna take this stake, and then you're gonna go ahead and put it in the ground right there. And then you're going to put your other stake in the ground at this other end. That's going to mark your points, okay? It doesn't matter if it's not level. We're going to use batter boards to get it so you can run these nylon mason lines so that you can make sure that you're nice and level where you actually dig your points, okay? So that point could your line could move just slightly. All right. All right. Okay. So then what you're going to do is you're going to get your measuring tape, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to get your diagonals. So it's a mathematical calculation, your length and your width. So your rise and your run, and then you calculate the diagonal. That's going to tell you where your points, your other points need to be to make sure you've got a perfectly square structure. So I'm going to get my first diagonal right here. So you're going to want to have two measuring tapes right here too, okay? All right, so we're going to run measuring tape here. This is where having somebody else help you. You can either take your stake that you put in there and put it through your tape to hold it. It's probably what you're going to have to do on that one if you only have one person helping you. And then the other person's going to hold your tape from this end. If you're doing it by yourself, you can also try to put that stake through your second tape. All right, so we're going to run our lines, 13. We're going to measure 13 feet, 2 inches across. All right, let's just assume that that's 13 feet, 2 inches. And then we're going to take the diagonal, which if you calculate the diagonal, all right, so I'm using a construction calculator, and I'm going to show you up here on the screen on how it works. You can probably use ChatGPT to give you the diagonal too. So I'm going to take 13 feet, 2 inches rise, and then 13 feet, 2 inches run. The diagonal is 18 feet, 7 inches, 7 and 7/16 inches. So we're going to go from here. This isn't going to be a straight line, guys. I'm just going to use this. But assume as we're running it, where these 2 points meet, okay, and you'll kind of move it until these intersect right here, okay? At the point where your 13 foot 2 inches and your 18 foot 7 and 7/16 intersects, that's where you need to put your next stake right there, all right? Now we're going to do the same thing from this side right here. We're going to run the tape down, and we're going to run the other diagonal. So let's say, let me go ahead and, put in this one for reference. So you're going to measure out this right here, and let's assume that's 13 feet 2 inches. And then while you're holding both tape measures, you're taking those at the point where they cross. That's where you need to put your stake. All right, now I'm just going to go ahead and finish drawing this right there. Okay. I know looking at it, it's probably not square. This is just for showing an example. Okay, now, this isn't a perfectly flat surface, so you're going to have to go back and check these. The way you do it is you use that with your batter board and your lines, your mason line right here, okay? So let me switch colors real quick. And what you want to do is go back about 2 feet, and you want to put your stakes in the ground. So you're going to put your stakes, one stake on each side, about 45 degree angle to your point, and then you're going to put your piece of 2x4. You're going to secure it to the stake. If your stakes and if it kind of moves when you have it secured, you can also run another stake at an angle to it, and then nail or screw that stake to your batter board so that it's a little more sturdy and doesn't move. So I'm gonna go around. I know I'm drawing these different sizes, just kind of ignore that. So yeah, this is really sloppy, guys, but just pretend this is like stakes with the batter boards on it. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to use, there's a way for doing, when you take your mason's line, that's what we're going to do next. You're going to have to know how to tie a special knot so that you can make adjustments on where you place the line, okay? I'm going to link in a video to show you how to do that knot. Very important to learn how to do the knot. It's going to make this less frustrating in a way that you can quickly change positions on your line and be able to tighten it up really quick. All right, so let me switch colors right here. See, it's kind of orange color. Okay, all right, so what you're gonna do is go ahead and run your lines, all right? You're gonna put a nail or a screw in the top of your studs, and then you're gonna line it with these points that you put in the ground. So take this, and go ahead and run it over to this side, secure it. And then you're going to take this over here, run it through, secure it on that side. You're going to do the same thing over here. And then you do the same thing over here. Oops, got really off on. Okay. All right. So once you got your lines secured, you're going to take your measuring tape, and then you're going to go ahead and take your tape on both sides. This is where it really is important to have another set of hands, because you're going to have somebody hold the tape not at the ground anymore, so there's no way to secure it with a stake. You're gonna go ahead and check this, all right? And it's also gonna, whenever you attach these, because we're not using a grade stick, it's setting your batter boards to the right height. While you're doing this process, if there's a gap, that means that you need to move the batter board, one of the batter boards, one of these other three right here. You're going to have to change the position. You might have to move it up on your stake so that the lines are touching. Okay, if the lines are touching, that means that it's level. If you got a space, then it's not level. So that's where, if you invest in some fancy equipment like a grade stick, you can go ahead and adjust all of these batter boards. When you attach it to the stake, you can attach them to the same grade for all of them easily using that. So what I do is this very first one, I attach it at the point where this line is going to be the top of my concrete pier, okay? So if I want the top of my concrete pier on this highest point to be 12 inches up, then that's 12 inches up is where the top of this this board is going to be, all right? And then the rest of them, your boards are going to have to be, you're going to have to use the lines coming off here as reference lines to make sure that they're all level where the point you secure these batter boards. That's why I say get these line levels right here, because whenever you're setting your batter board over here, you can put a line level on your line and then raise it up and then check the point and then go ahead and secure your batter board. All right. So what you're doing is you're taking the one of the measuring tapes from here, and then your other measuring tape from this right here, and then the point where it intersects, you're going to see if they line up at 18 feet 7 inches and 7 7/16 inches. If they don't, that means you're going to have to adjust your lines accordingly until they do. Okay. Same with the rest of your points. You're going to go to each point, and if they don't intersect at 18 feet 7 7/16, you're going to adjust your lines, and all you have to do is unscrew or take the nail out of your post, and then just reset it to where you need to move it to get it to line up. At that point, you're gonna the exact area that these lines cross, that right below that, you can get a level stick, make sure it's completely vertical at that point, and then that's where you're going to dig your hole. Okay, so directly below that point, that's where you're going to dig the hole, and basically that's it, guys. So let me see how many minutes that was. Okay, that was a lot longer than I thought. So we're at basically 15 minutes. So I'm going into there. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Again, I'm showing you guys how to do this, just kind of on drawing it out on Photoshop. I'm going to be doing this out in the field too, so I'm going to get another video so you can guys actually watch and then follow along and learn how to build your own A-frame yourself. Okay? All right. Take care. Bye-bye.